Welcome to Books for Success. Today, we're delving into the wisdom within Hold Me Tight by Dr. Sue Johnson. Discover how to build a strong connection with a potential partner or in your current relationship through intimate conversations based on emotionally focused therapy. You'll learn conversations that can deepen your bond, how relationships can affect your life, toxic patterns that ruin your connection, 3 types of demon dialogues. Subscribe and ring the bell for notifications if you want to keep receiving the knowledge of book summaries about health, wealth, love, psychology, and much more. Don't be shy about dropping your book suggestions for us to summarize. Also, you can use this video as an audiobook summary. Let's grow and succeed together. To love and be loved correctly, everyone must be willing to learn. In the final phase of getting her doctorate in counseling psychology at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Dr. Sue Johnson started to work with couples. Mesmerized by the intensity of their struggles, she decided to learn through their experiences. It was at this time that she understood that there are critical negative and positive emotional moments that define a relationship. With the help of her thesis advisor, Les Greenberg, she developed a new couple therapy called emotionally focused therapy. A research project that gave some couples a developing version of EFT and other therapies showed that the EFT produced more positive results. Couples fought less, felt closer, and were satisfied with their relationships. The EFT message is simple. Forget about learning how to argue better, analyze your early childhood, make grand gestures, or try out new sexual positions. Instead, recognize that you are emotionally attached to your partner, just like a child is to their parents. It focuses on creating and strengthening this emotional bond between partners by identifying and transforming the key moments that foster an adult loving relationship, being open, attuned, and responsive to each other. Everyone lives out the drama of connection and disconnection. This summary helps you do it with a better understanding. So, if you want to sustain and nurture your relationship or wonder what went wrong in your last relationship, this summary provides tips to help you understand love better. Keep reading to discover the secrets behind a long-lasting bond and apply them to your relationship. Your relationship with others contributes to your total well-being. To most people, love has been and remains a mystical emotion that defies definition. Today, love has become too important to be defined as a mysterious force. It has become the central emotional relationship in most people's lives. A significant reason is that humans increasingly live in social isolation. Movies now define love as the sole aim of relationships, while newspapers and magazines report the never-ending search for romance and love among celebrities. All this has influenced people so much that a recent survey showed that people in the US and Canada rate a satisfying love relationship as their #1 goal, ahead of financial success and a satisfying career. It is, therefore, imperative that everyone comprehends what love is and how to make it last. John Bowlby, a British psychiatrist, was the first to rebel against the idea that the leading cause of a patient's problems was their internal conflict and unconscious fantasies. He insisted that the issues were mostly external and rooted in real relationships with people. After a series of experiments, Bowlby developed the attachment theory that explains that children have an absolute requirement for safe, ongoing, physical, and emotional closeness. After his death, social psychologists Phil Shaver and Cindy Hazan found that a sense of secure connection between romantic partners is critical in maintaining positive, loving relationships. Lewis Hockley of the Center for Cognitive and Social Neuroscience at the University of Chicago concluded after a study that loneliness raises blood pressure to the point where the risk of heart attack and stroke is doubled. If you want a happy relationship, you need to keep working for it. When a couple faces distress, it could be because they do not feel emotionally safe with each other, and the fights are veiled protests over their emotional disconnection. The anger, criticism, and demands are desperate pleas to re-establish a safe connection. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux explains that losing connection with your loved one jeopardizes your sense of security and triggers an alarm in the brain's amygdala. Everyone experiences fear when they disagree or argue with their partners, but it is momentary for those with secure bonds. Couples with weak relationships experience overwhelming fear that makes them demanding and clingy or causes them to detach in an attempt to protect themselves. These strategies for dealing with the fear of losing connection are unconscious and only work in the beginning. Tense exchanges between you and your partner can evolve quickly and become chaotic if you don't slow down to see the turning points and weigh your options. Bowlby explains that when you feel suddenly uncertain or vulnerable in the world or sense a threat to your relationship, it is a sign that your relationship is going through attachment problems. A landmark study by Ted Houston of the University of Texas proves that when marriages fail, it is not a result of increasing conflicts. Instead, it is caused by decreasing affection and emotional responsiveness. The failure of marriage begins with a growing absence of responsive, intimate interactions that stem from attachment problems. Disguised and distorted messages keep us from being exposed in all our naked longing, but they also make it harder for our lovers to respond. Dr. Sue Johnson. EFT is hinged on 7 conversations that are aimed at encouraging a special kind of emotional responsiveness. This emotional responsiveness is the key to lasting love and has 3 main components. Accessibility. This means staying open to your partner even when you have doubts and feel insecure. Responsiveness. This means tuning in to your partner and showing that their emotions affect you. Engagement. This refers to the special kind of attention that we give only to a loved one. Partners talk of this as being emotionally present. Conversations with these 3 components are called ARE conversations and are more common in a healthy relationship. The need for a safe emotional connection to a few loved ones is wired in everyone by millions of years of evolution. This connection is what distressed partners always aim to achieve. Understanding your partner's experiences is the key to maintaining a lasting connection. The 7 conversations of EFT will help you stop the downward spiral into emotional starvation and distance that plagues many relationships. It also teaches the logic of love and the conversations that build it. The first step to effecting change is noticing the patterns that harm your relationship. You can get stuck in 3 basic patterns. Demon dialogues, when you find connecting safely with your partner challenging. There are only 2 ways of protecting yourself and holding on to your connection with your partner. One route is to avoid engagement. Try to numb your emotions and deny your attachment needs. The other is to listen to your anxiety and ask for recognition from your partner. The strategy you adopt when you feel disconnected partly reflects your natural temperament and the lessons you've learned in your past and present relationships. The first demon dialogue is finding the bad guy. The purpose of this dialogue is self-protection, but the main move is mutual attack, accusation, or blame. Feelings of vulnerability and uncontrolled reactions characterize this pattern of responses. To gain control, you negatively define your partner. Once this pattern becomes habitual, a feedback loop that encourages attack is formed. The second demon dialogue is the protest polka. Studies by psychologist John Gottman of the University of Washington, Seattle, show that many couples who fall into this pattern early do not make it to their 5th anniversary. In this dialogue, one partner reaches out negatively while the other steps back, and the pattern repeats. Couples find it hard to recognize this pattern as it is not as evident as the first dialogue. New beginnings start with knowing how we create the trap we are caught in and deprive ourselves of the love we need. Strong bonds grow from resolving to halt the cycles of disconnection, the dances of distress. Dr. Sue Johnson. The third demon dialogue is freeze and flee. It happens when the pursuing, critical partner gives up trying to get the spouse's attention and goes silent. If this cycle runs its course, the aggressive partner will detach and leave. The freeze and flee period is the last straw that can end a relationship. Once you can identify these negative cycles and recognize that they trap you and your partner, you are ready to learn how to step out of them. Conflict is inevitable. Be ready to diffuse tension, and try to understand your partner's stance. Everyone is capable of hurting their partner with careless words and actions. Almost everyone has at least one raw spot that can cause damage when attacked. A raw spot is a hypersensitivity formed by moments in a person's past or current relationship when an attachment need has been repeatedly neglected. This results in the person feeling emotionally deprived or deserted. For instance, a man who is highly sensitive to any hint that his wife may be developing an interest in another man could be because his first wife openly cheated on him. Raw spots can crop up in a current relationship, even a genuinely happy one, if you feel emotionally deprived or deserted. They can also occur during significant transitions or crises when the need for support from our partner is intense and not forthcoming. If you find yourself continually stuck in a demon dialogue with your partner, it is sparked by attempts to deal with pain or a sore spot. Two signs tell you when your raw spot or your partner has been hit. First is the sudden radical shift in the emotional tone of the conversation, and second is that the reaction to a perceived offense seems way out of proportion. You will never create a strong and secure connection if you do not allow your partner to know how fully, or if your partner is unwilling to know you. Slowly share your fears with your partner, encouraging them to do the same. To reconnect, lovers have to be able to de-escalate conflict and create basic emotional safety. You both need to work together to curtail negative dialogues and diffuse insecurities. It is possible to have differences without slipping into demon dialogues and rubbing each other's raw spots without anxiety or withdrawal. Holding on to your emotional balance creates a platform for repairing rifts in your relationship and creating a loving connection. Did you know? Rigorous studies during the past 15 years have shown that 70 to 75% of couples who go through EFT recover from distress and are happy in their relationships. Having a discussion can help resolve issues, but you have to embrace the difficult topics even when you don't feel like it. A great way to build and sustain a secure bond is to focus on your partner as strongly as you did at the beginning of your relationship. You can do this by deliberately creating moments of engagement and connection. The "hold me tight" conversation builds a sense of safety and generates positive patterns of reaching for and responding to your loved ones. Conversation 4 involves answering two crucial questions. The first, "What am I most afraid of?" requires you to explore deeper feelings highlighted in the previous conversations, while the second part, "What do I need the most from you?" involves being able to coherently speak your needs in a way that invites your partner to a better dialogue. Letting go of resentment and absolving a person's bad conduct is the right and good thing to do. Dr. Sue Johnson. Research shows that every time a couple has a "hold me tight" conversation, a moment of deep emotional connection occurs. This sense of connection triggers the release of the cuddle hormone, oxytocin, which helps boost interactions. Certain events do more than just hurt your partner's feelings. They can harm them so deeply that it changes their world. These harmful events are called relationship traumas. The absence of an emotionally supportive response by a loved one at a moment of threat can impair a whole relationship and ruin its security. Even when partners try to compartmentalize traumas, it only works for a while, resulting in a cold and distant relationship. The only way out of the trauma is to confront them and heal them together immediately. There are 6 steps to forgiveness. The hurt partner needs to speak about their pain as openly and simply as possible. The injured partner stays emotionally present and acknowledges their partner's pain and their part in it. Partners have to reassure each other of their support. Injuring partners take ownership of how they inflicted this injury on their partner and express regret. Hold me tight conversations can take place centering around the attachment injury. The couple creates a new story that captures the injuring event and shapes new dialogues. Understanding attachment injuries and knowing that you can find and offer forgiveness gives you the power to create a lasting bond. There is no injury-proof relationship, but you can have a happier relationship if you know you can be forgiven when you make a mistake. The more you understand your preferences and sexuality, the happier you will be. Passion comes quickly in the early days of a relationship, and it is nature's way of drawing couples together. Sex can help keep a relationship together, but the passion for infatuation is not enough. Loving sex in a long-term relationship is the goal. Emotional connection creates great sex, and great sex creates a deeper emotional connection. When partners are emotionally accessible, sex becomes a safe adventure. Sex educators Barry and Emily McCarthy of American University in Washington, D.C., have carried out many surveys in this area and concluded that contented spouses attribute 15 to 20% of their happiness to happy sex life. Still, unhappy mates ascribe 50 to 70% of their distress to sexual problems. Satisfied partners see sex as just one of the many sources of pleasure and intimacy, while unhappy partners see it as the source of trouble. The safety of your emotional connection defines your sexual relationship, and depending on how comfortable you are, you will have different goals during sex. Sealed-off sex, solace sex, and synchrony sex. In sealed-off sex, the goal is to reduce sexual tension, achieve orgasm, and feel good about your sexual prowess. It happens with those who have never learned to trust and who do not want to open up. The bond is secondary, and the focus is on sensation and performance. This kind of impersonal sex is toxic in a love relationship. The partner feels used and objectified rather than valued as a person. Solace sex occurs when partners are seeking reassurance that they are valued and desired. The goal is to alleviate attachment fears and has more emotional involvement than in sealed-off sex. But the primary emotion is anxiety. Solace sex can keep the relationship stable for a while, but it can also trigger raw spots and negative cycles. Synchrony sex is when emotional openness, responsiveness, tender touch, and erotic exploration all come together. This is the way sex is supposed to be. And this is what satisfies, fulfills, and connects partners. For both men and women, emotional disengagement closes off the richer dimension for good sex. Dr. Sue Johnson. The best recipe for good sex is a secure relationship where a couple can connect through conversations and tender touch. Getting used to asking for tender touches deepens a couple's bond and allows them to intimately know one another's bodies. When partners have a secure emotional connection, physical intimacy can retain all its initial intensity and creativity. Love can live for as long as you and your partner are ready to put in the effort. ARE conversations are the language of love. They nurture your ability to be flexible, to explore, and to keep your love alive and growing. To take your love into the future, reflect on the danger points of your relationship and figure out shortcuts that will lead you back to a safe connection. When you find these shortcuts, celebrate as many positive moments as possible, as this will reinforce the positive impact you have on each other. Love is like a language. If you speak it, it flows more and more easily. If you don't, then you start to lose it. Dr. Sue Johnson. A major part of keeping your love alive is recognizing and remembering these critical moments of connection. They remind you of how precious your relationship is and what a close connection feels like. Plan rituals around the moments of separation and reunion in your daily lives to mark the recognition of support. These rituals hold your relationship safe in a distracting world and help you stay focused on the present moment in a positive way. Rituals could be regular date nights, hugs, or vacations. Whatever brings you closer to each other. Also, help each other identify attachment issues in recurring differences and arguments and decide, together, how to diffuse these issues. This will allow you to solve problems without letting attachment issues get in the way. Once emotional safety is established, partners can easily reach an agreement during a misunderstanding. It is also vital that you create a resilient relationship story that describes how you have built and are continuing to develop a loving bond. It explains how you got stuck in conflict and how you have learned to reconnect. This resilience story also leads to creating a future love story that outlines how you want your bond to look like. It also highlights how you would like your partner's help in making the vision a reality. Conversation 7 is built on the understanding that love is a continual process of seeking and losing emotional connection and reaching out to find it again. The bond of love, if left unattended, naturally begins to wither. In a world that requires everyone to juggle more tasks, being present in the moment is a challenge that you must prepare for. Love is our survival code, and a resilient, deeply satisfying love relationship is not a dream but an attainable goal for everyone. Emotional connections can strengthen you through the bad days. Trauma instantly changes the world as you know it, leaving you helpless and emotionally overwhelmed. If you have a responsive love partner, you have a secure base. Having someone you can rely on for support and connection makes healing from trauma easier. Chris Fraley and his colleagues at the University of Illinois found evidence of this in their study of 9/11 survivors. Those who avoided depending on others were struggling with more flashbacks and depression compared with those who were securely attached to their loved ones. But sometimes, even when you know that you need love to heal the wounds of trauma, it is not always easy to open up and seek help. Often to survive in a moment of danger, some people freeze their feelings and actions. It is sometimes hard for them to acknowledge their weakness as they think it makes them smaller or less admirable as human beings. To enjoy a loving relationship, you need to share your feelings with your loved ones, and this means not shielding them from your worst experiences so that they can understand your pain and help you heal. Whether you share your problems or not, trauma is always a problem. Partners feel the stress as they watch their lovers cope. A secure bond gives comfort, helps you hold on to hope, reassures you of the new person you have become, and helps you make sense of everything. We just have to be there, in all senses of the phrase. If we can do this, love can do more than last. It can flower again and again. Dr. Sue Johnson. Emotional connections are crucial to healing, and trauma experts agree that the best predictor of any trauma's impact is not the severity of the event, but whether you can accept comfort from others. Your effort to cope alone after trauma is disastrous to you and your relationships. It drives your partner into a spiral of panic and insecurity and weakens your bonds. It also closes the door to positive healing emotions. With all traumas, chronic fear and anger are problematic after effects, but the biggest problem is the feeling of shame that afflicts survivors. But the pain can give strength and a more profound sense of connection if we learn to use love's power. Conclusion. A loving connection provides a dependable web of intimacy that allows you to cope with life and to live life well. This is what gives life its meaning in the long run. The attachment perspective recognizes that the need for an emotional connection with others is absolute, and this healthy dependence is the essence of romantic love. Our loved ones do indeed come into our hearts and minds, and when they do, they transform us. Dr. Sue Johnson. The 7 conversations highlighted in this summary are aimed at helping you discover yourself and your partner and choose what works best for you. Every relationship is different from the other, and it is only right that you try to understand each one thoroughly. To achieve a lasting bond, you have to tune in to your deepest needs and translate them into clear signals that help your partner respond to you. You also have to accept love and accept that it is a primal code of attachment rather than attempting to dismiss or bypass it. Partners create a positive loop of closeness, responsiveness, care, and desire. But to make love work, you have to accept that even when the relationship is good, it is always a work in progress. Loving relationships affect both partners, their immediate environment, and society. Loving families are the basis of a humane society, and understanding the longing for love and how it works is crucial if you want to shape a world that reflects everyone's best nature. Try this. Write a description of unresolved conflict in your relationship and have your partner do the same. Compare notes in a calm environment and see how you can do better going forward. You can also book an appointment with a psychologist if the conflicts remain unresolved. Thanks for being part of our insightful voyage. If our summary piqued your interest, we encourage you to dive into the complete book for a deeper understanding. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more content if you're new here, and share it with others who might find it valuable. Keep on reading, discovering, and advancing until our next adventure.